Ready? Right, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Waverley Local Planning Panel, 25th of June 2025. I'd like to first acknowledge the traditional owners who occupy the Sydney coast and acknowledge Aboriginal elders, both past and present. We have no apologies today, and we have, I understand, no declarations of interest. So everyone will be present, all the panel members will be present on each item. The panel today, we have Claire Swan and Kate Bartlett as our experts and Sam Marshall as our community representative. My name's Jacqueline Townsend and I'm the chair of today's meeting. I ask that when we go into each item, there are a number of speakers today. So if we could stick to the 3-minute per speaker, and also ask that no one speak over each other, and let everyone have their say uninterrupted. We all are here to hear each other, and your submissions will certainly assist the panel in making their determination later today. There's 8 items, and once we get to the end of each, once we get to the last of the items, the panel will retire and to make its determination. Those decisions will be placed up on the council website later this week, or early next week. So they will be there for public viewing at that time. This is being videoed, obviously, as you can see. So if you don't want your name to be on this public screening, then you might want to remove it. But please be aware that I'll probably be calling your name in any event. So nothing else to say on administrative matters. So let's move on to the first item, which is DA 563/2024. 88 to 90 Ramsgate Avenue, Bondi Beach, New South Wales. The panel received many submissions on this matter, and we also have 3 speakers objecting to council's recommendation, and we also have representatives today for the applicant. So we'll go first to the objectors. Concatatis, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Apologies if it's not. If you'd like to,
yeah, that's right.
If you'd like to commence, please note there is a 3-minute meeting limit, and there will be a buzzer that goes off. So when you hear that buzzer, if you could just quickly wrap up if you haven't done so already. So when you're ready,
problem.
Great.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Concatatis. I reside in Unit 9, 55 to 57 Brighton Boulevard, Bondi Beach. And my unit is directly behind the proposed development of 88 to 90 Ramsgate Avenue. Now, from my perspective, and also my next door neighbour, Justine, who resides in Unit 10, we are going to be the most heavily impacted by this development. And the impacts are, well, view loss is the main thing that is impacting our homes. I think there was a visual assessment done. Justine's view loss is rated as a 13 out of 15, and my view loss is rated as an 11 out of 15, which is in the severe view loss category, with Justine's obviously being devastating and mine being severe to devastating. We currently enjoy a view of Bondi Beach and all the headlands all the way to Maroubra Beach, as well as icebergs. And we purchased our properties with additional cost due to this view. And now, given well, with the knowledge that the height limit on Ramsgate Avenue is 12.5 meters, and now obviously we've got developers going in trying to take advantage of the 30% height additions due to affordable housing, which not only wipe out our views in entirety, but then we've got unacceptable privacy outcomes with uncertainty to all windows and decks facing inside our homes with this 5-level development that's proposed in front of us. So We had a visit from Alana Jelfs, who came and had a look at basically what we were going to lose and what was going to be replaced, given that we're on level 3. And her comments to us were that we need to share the view. We aren't unfortunately going to be sharing any view once this development goes up. We're going to be completely and utterly wiped out. So there'll be no view at the end of this potential development, and we think that that's highly unfair. As I said, we purchased our property with the intention to enjoy this view, and it was purchased at a premium, and now we feel that premium is being handed over to the development in front of us. And also, in turn, we're basically receiving not only view loss, but the privacy of our buildings. People would basically just be looking straight into our apartments. There'll be poor access to daylight and sunlight as a result of the increased height limit if it goes ahead. Devastating 100% total loss of views, as I mentioned earlier. Unreasonable visual impact, sense of enclosure, and risks, from excessive earthworks. Apparently, the development wants to go down a couple of stories, and we also are fretting at the potential of what that will do from an earthwork point of view. The surrounding properties potentially could have issues as a result of the depth of how far that building wants to go down. And so we're just seeking for council to revisit or rethink the passing of this development based on these facts.
Yeah, thank you, Con. That's your time. Could you just, sorry, what unit, what's your address?
Unit 9 of 55 to 57, Brighton Boulevard,
Brighton
directly
Boulevard.
behind the development, and
Okay.
Justine is Unit 10. So we have an adjoining common wall. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We're just, we've been provided with a very detailed visual impact statement. So that's something that the panel has before them. So thank you for addressing on your issues. Any questions for Con? No. Thank you very much, Con, for speaking. And we'll now hear from the next speaker on the list today, which is Team Light. Kurt? Is Kurt?
Yes, good day. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, when you're ready, you can commence.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm at Unit 236, Campbell Parade, which is just the back of the building, which faces 88 to 90 Ramsgate Avenue. And the issue or majority of the building owners has is the bulk of the building, which was already indicated by the previous speaker. And also the granularity of the existing streetscape is getting lost with this new development, which, brings together number 88 and 90, as well as loss of fauna and flora, because considering the arborist report, you're planning to knock down a few trees, but there was no mention of actually replacing those trees, especially tree number T2, which is on the street currently. And yeah, obviously, bigger bulk means less light for units 1 and 2 at 236 Campbell Parade, which are at the bottom, at the ground floor. So with an increased bulk, obviously, 88, 90 from 236 Campbell Parade is to the north, which obviously there's loss of light, especially in winter. It gets really, let's say, more gloomy and really cloudy days, and any calculation or any CAD analysis or whatever done really doesn't reflect the reality. Let's put it this way. So, and I keep noticing further up at Ramsgate Avenue, which, is part of the last 10 to 15 years of new developments, Class 2 buildings just keep popping up, bigger, taller, and is indicated because of the height limit and the 30% addition, which can be claimed for all sorts of reasons. It just, the granularity gets lost, and eventually cumulative in time, all this gets just denser, taller, and the units getting smaller and smaller. So yeah, that's the concern we have from 236 as well. I mean, I don't think anybody from what the development at 92 will be speaking, but they will be quite impacted as well. You know. Anyway, so that's the point from 236 Camera Parade.
Well, thank you very much for coming and speaking.
Sure.
We feel the pain of these new changes, so we understand the situation for you. But we'll take your submission into consideration when we deliberate. Any comment or questions? No. Thank you very much, Kurt, for coming and speaking.
Sure, thank you.
Jeremy and Joanne Byrne.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Chair. There's two issues that we're at 50 Brighton Boulevard, so we're behind and it's near where Con is, $2 down from Con. There's two issues we want to talk to: affordable housing and view sharing. Con did a good summary on view sharing, but I'll come into that. Affordable housing, really, this isn't in the spirit of the Act. We all understand what the Act's intended to do. There's going to be 3 tiny 1-bedroom apartments on the bottom 3 floors, then 2 mega penthouses above there, and many sort of dual level apartments. So, you're suggesting that we're going to have 2 mega penthouses with just 3 small apartments. That really does not achieve what the Act is trying to achieve when you're taking away actually a lot of affordable housing that's currently there. So I think the lawyers are trying to find loopholes for the developer to try and find a way of trying to position this as a housing. We all know it's not, so let's just be clear on that. And I'd like to understand what are some of the safeguards going to be in place to make sure that is affordable housing, because the average income being $60,000 to $100,000 in Australia. If it's affordable housing, how is someone going to buy that? Or if it's going to be rented out, how long does the developer have to hold that at a low cost rental before they can reap the benefits? So that's the first point. We just don't think it's actual affordable housing, and let's be clear on that, and let's stop trying to hide behind an Act to try and change the community. Secondly, view sharing. Con talked about it well. Tenacity Consulting versus Warringah, Furlong versus Northern Beaches Council. We all know those cases. View sharing is a cornerstone of local planning. And I know there's now a state government law, but that still does have relevance, and it still should. So essentially, severe impact is the word they use in that case law. Well, as we've heard, and as your own report shows, there is severe and devastating loss of view from the residents. So we have to take that into account. There is devastating loss. So, I mean, really what we're essentially doing is I think we're all acting like houses behind are luxury apartments. They're modest semis behind, modest apartments behind, that you're going to take the views away from those modest houses and apartments to give it to luxury $10 million plus penthouses for their benefit, not for affordable housing. So we have to look at this. We're essentially saying, let's take accommodation and views away from people that have been here for generations. Either side of me, there's 100 years of tenancy here in modern times, and we're going to give it to luxury apartments for rich people, basically under the guise of affordable housing. That's what's occurring here, and let's be honest about it, because that's how this is going to end up, and council needs to look at this properly. Thank you.
Thank you. You've articulated the planning system very well, the current planning system very well.
Thank you.
Comments? No?
Can I ask,
Sam, there's a
what's your
question from
address?
Sam.
What address were you?
We're 51 Brighton Boulevard. But again, I talk as a specific resident, but I'm more concerned about the social impact. I've got a lovely lady next door years, and she wouldn't come to a meeting like this because it's difficult for my parents don't know how to turn on Zoom, for example. We've got lovely neighbors next door who've raised their family there and are going to be devastated by it. We've heard from Con, and I know many of the people in his building, not on a personal level, but from saying hello. There are lots of older people, lots of people that they're not rich people. They're regular Aussies living in a lovely building that they're proud of, and it's their main asset, and their loss is going to be devastated. It's much bigger for them than me. but it's and I know what's happening in development out there. You know, you look on realestate.com, there's 1-bedroom apartments 1.5 Ks from this address that's available to rent or buy today. I know I talk to developers daily and they can't actually sell stock. So
Yeah.
let's not.
Yeah, we're with you, Jeremy. We hear
But
you.
I think everyone have to understand it's actually developers can't actually sell stuff. So
I'm just going to interrupt, Jeremy, that we've heard your submission
thank you.
loud
Appreciate
and clear, and I don't think anyone's going to go against you on those comments.
Appreciate
All right, so we're now going to hear from the applicant or Lee Costanera. Are you going to speak on behalf of the applicant as well, or is the applicant going to speak, Paul? I've got PBD Architects. I know there's some questions that the panel would like to address to you, Lee, but is there anything from PBD Architects I'd like to say?
I'll speak, panel.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, if that's all right. I have just a short outline in response to the report, and I think it would be worthwhile to address some of the neighbour submissions.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Firstly, I would like to thank council officers for their assessment and their recommendation for approval. Having reviewed the conditions, we don't seek to challenge any, although there is one condition that I'd like the panel to review, which I'll outline in a minute. With the application being one of the first receiving the uplift for height and floor space being incentivised by the state government, I can appreciate this is a really complex application to navigate, both from a compliance perspective and also from managing community expectations for new development. I don't disagree with a number of the comments made by others. However, this is the planning system as we see it today. That being said, the assessment report really carefully outlines the level of compliance that this project has with all of the controls. The height and floor space are fully compliant with development standards, and the panel doesn't need to consider any clause 4.6 variations. Front and rear setbacks fully comply. And given the width of the site, the building's side setbacks are twice, triple, and at the top level quadruple the DCP required setbacks. Landscaping and deep soil compliance is also met, and compliance with these requirements means that the objectives of the development standards and council controls have been met, and more onerous compliance cannot be imposed upon it. The development includes 3 affordable rental housing units. They've been selected by our registered community housing provider as offering the most suitable and affordable product to meet current demands of people on the lists for social housing in Bondi. And I just ask that the panel support the recommendation for approval. The condition that I wanted to bring to the panel's mind for review is the dilapidation condition number 25. It's on pages 54 and 55 of your report. Absolutely, dilapidation reports need to be done. However, the list of properties in that condition, there are 21 neighbouring properties, some of which are 8 properties removed from the subject site. The basement is only 2 levels, and it is actually set in from all of the boundaries of the subject site as well because of the width that we have. So standard practice would ordinarily suggest dilapidation reports for the adjoining properties. I'm suggesting going one further out and doing 2 properties in every direction would be appropriate. But to require the nearest 21 properties, some 8 removed, I think that sets a new and undesirable precedent for council to be casting that wide. I'll turn to, unless there are direct questions, I might turn to
I think
addressing some of the community submissions.
Yeah, that's your time. In particular, it would be helpful to understand how that social housing works. There is a bit of confusion out there, and that was raised today. If you could address that, that would be helpful. I understand there's a condition in the conditions regarding it as well. But if you could just walk us through that for those who made the submission, that'd be helpful.
Absolutely. So the state government has incentivised the delivery of affordable rental housing units, so not saleable units at an affordable rate, but for the rental population. And to do that, there's the provision of a 30% uplift in floor space and height available, so long as half of that percentage, 15% of all of the development, is allocated to an affordable housing community provider, a registered community housing provider, to be the landlord for those, or the managing agent for those units for a period of 15 years as a minimum. Now, we've engaged with Homeground, which has been around in Waverley Council for a very long time, and before this step was the affordable housing provider for Waverley Council's products. They have a very good understanding of the needs of the local community and people on their list, and they've worked with us to select the 3 one-bedroom units as providing the most affordable product. The way that the system works is there are 2 criteria to be selected as a potential tenant, or 3. One is that you need to be a local resident, and the other 2 are that a person cannot be on more than 110% of the median wage. So it's an average person's wage, or slightly above average person's wage, 110%. And that's targeted towards key workers, teachers, nurses, that sort of police officers. And once you meet that threshold of not earning too much money, you're near the median, then they also can't spend more than 30% of their wage on rent. Now, the best product to provide to make it most affordable is the one-bedroom apartment, because that gives the greatest discount to the person renting that apartment, which can be a single person or a couple, as opposed to, say, a large 3-bedroom apartment, which would still allow someone to pay quite a lot of money for at 30% of their rent. And that's where you've seen in the newspapers lately, some units are renting for $1,200, $1,300 a week as affordable. That's not affordable to me, but it's more affordable than the $3,000 a week they're renting the unit down the road for. So it meets. But in this instance, it's a one-bedroom apartment. These will be discounted to around 40 to 50% from the market rent available. And conditions of consent protect it. And there's an easement placed on the property that also protects it, that these must be managed by a registered community housing provider. So effectively, the difference is that it doesn't go to Ray White or McGrath for the highest possible yield of rental return. It's managed by a person that isn't motivated by high rents. It's managed by a person motivated to get social housing listed people into products in Bondi.
Thank you. That was very thorough. Do we, I know that Sam, you had some questions for Lou.
Just one question about the technicalities of the Urbane report. Looking at page 37, it's just the virtual site photo. I'm just interested how they're done. Is that done from Google Earth? And how accurate are they? And are they used in court as being accurate?
Yes, the technical explanation that I've been given is that they are cloud point data, which is surveyed to within something super accurate. I noticed in the panel's report and package, my understanding is that you have the view impact analysis document. There's an annexure to that document that might be in council's file, quite a detailed one that talks about all of the technical specifications that go into that modelling and the competency against the court required visual impact assessment criteria. So in my experience, Urbane have been the most thorough and the most accurate, and I work alongside Urbane quite frequently, and these documents are court tested frequently.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yes, certainly. Kate, Claire Swan.
Hi, Lee. How are you? In terms of the home ground, so one of the concerns with the affordable housing was there's going to be a whole bunch of sporadic stock around, which is actually an impost on the community housing sector. So are you indicating that home ground have indicated their ability and willingness to take on 3 units?
Absolutely. So Homeground are a really good pick for us on this particular site. They manage properties on other developments that I have where there's 15, 16, 17 units in a single block. And they also manage blocks where there's just 1 unit or 2 units or 3 units within a block, because it's of this smaller scale where there's only the need, it only generates 1 or 2 units, or 3 in this case. We work with them early to select the units. So I know there's been a suggestion that, you know, the affordable housing units are the south-facing bottom corner ones in a lot of developments. These are actually beach-facing one, front street-facing one-bedroom apartments picked by the registered community housing provider as the best for the tenants they have on their current list. So they already have a number of applicants that, if they can't house by the time before we're done, are eligible and wanting to move into a development like this.
Thank you. And just in terms of the dilapidation report, we'll obviously have a chat with council officers whether they maintain the reasonableness about the amount of properties. I think there's an argument to be said that, given the significant benefit the development is getting, I guess the cost of doing probably what are simple dilapidation reports for some of the properties is probably worth that cost, in the sense of if it addresses some of the community concerns. So I guess just as a preliminary view, I wouldn't see it as a significant impost to have to do that, to demonstrate to the community that, you know, it is reasonable and safe and that their structures are going to be okay. But we'll take it on notice and obviously have a chat to the council officers.
Thank you. Can I just say I agree with you? The 21 properties include, at some distance, some residential flat buildings, which actually will mean 40, 50, 60 properties. So it's just a matter of determining whether or not that's required, given the depth of the excavation. But like I hopefully carefully nuanced early, I'm not challenging that condition. I just think it needs to be considered in the realm of the ordinary application of dilapidation reports across Waverley. It's about 3 or 4 times more expansive than the ordinary approach. So I think maybe double is reasonable, but I'll leave it for the panel.
Nothing further? Great. Well, thank you, Nicholas Netter, coming along and assisting, and thank you all for the speakers. Like I said, there's a number of submissions on this development which the planning panel have received, and that were received during the notification period. So we'll certainly take them into consideration when making our determination. Thank you, everyone.
Excuse me, Chair, can I just ask, he didn't address the view sharing at all in his response. Would that be covered?
The questions are based on the panel's questions, and the panel's got their documents, and that's what we'll be taking into consideration. So thank you very much. We're dealt with that as a panel. Thank you. We'll now move on to the next item, which is item number 2, which is DA 659 2024, 45 Blake Street, Rose Bay. We've got a couple of submissions that were made during the notification period. We've got one objector speaking against the council recommendation, and we've got the applicant's representatives here as well. So Matt Fortunato, Matt, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Apologies for pronunciation of
That's okay. It happens.
When you're ready, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So I'm a town planner representing the residents of 47 Blake Street, directly adjacent to the proposed developments at 45 and 45A Blake Street. Now, I understand that these 2 dwellings are subject to 2 separate DAs and thus 2 separate items on the panel's agenda. However, in the interest of time, my comments will apply to both dwellings with a greater emphasis on 45A, as it directly adjoins number 47. Now, our detailed submission to the DAs, which I trust the panel has reviewed, outlines significant concerns regarding these proposals, primarily related to the devastating loss of iconic views from 47 Blake Street. Currently, 47 captures panoramic views of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, city skyline, and beyond to North Sydney and Neutral Bay. These views are enjoyed from the ground floor living room, first floor areas, and principal private open space, and are integral to the property's amenity. Now, whilst the residents of number 47 do not oppose to the 2-storey development in principle, the current design fails to uphold equitable view sharing as required by the DCP. Notably, the proposed 3-metre floor-to-ceiling heights on both the ground and first floors directly contribute to the obstruction of these iconic views. Now, a simple adjustment, reducing these heights to 2.7 metres on the ground floor and 2.4 metres on the first floor, would significantly assist in preserving views across the site without compromising internal amenity of the new dwellings. Under the tenacity principles, the loss of such iconic views from key living spaces is deemed devastating. Notably, the principle of reasonableness asks whether a more skillful design could achieve the development goals whilst reducing impact on neighbours. I'd like to draw the panel's attention to the photo montages provided by the applicant, particularly the one on sheet DA 4.16, which clearly demonstrates that lowering the building height by 900 millimetres via the reduction of the floor-to-ceiling heights would serve to preserve critical views of the CBD skyline, notably the Centrepoint Tower, ensuring equitable view sharing and reflecting a more skillful design. In summary, the proposals as they stand, particularly number 45A, will irreparably harm the iconic views and amenity of 47 Blake Street. We would urge the panel to condition a reduction in floor-to-ceiling heights, as I've explained. These changes would balance the development at 45 and 45A with the preservation of number 47's valued views. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's very helpful. Can can I just ask you a question? Sorry.
Of course.
You said the ceiling height's 2.7 to the ground floor.
Yeah.
And then what was the next level?
2.4 metres on the first floor. As they're less used spaces, the reduced floor-to-ceiling height would have less of an impact. Whereas we would understand they would want larger floor-to-ceiling heights in the living areas.
Thank you. Any questions? No, thank you. We'll now go to the applicant, Klaas Carson and Elliot Manis. Obviously, you'll make some submissions, but that submission seems to have some merit to it. What do you say about changing a design as suggested to address this view sharing issue that this development has?
Thank you, Chair. With regards to the floor-to-ceiling heights, we feel that any further reduction wouldn't add any sort of significant impact or improvement on the views that are already affected. We would consider them to be marginal, but in any case,
their planner seems to think it will.
Well, if we look at the council officer's report, on the view impact section, we can see that any sort of reduction would be in accordance. We're at 3 metres floor-to-ceiling height.
Yeah,
That's the case.
We have worked very hard to consider the view sharing from all the neighbours and the street, and as part of our communication with council and the revised design, we increased our setbacks for the first floor level from the front and from the rear. We've also included roof features around the edges of the first floor level. So around the edges of the first floor, the floor-to-ceiling height is actually reduced. And we have a larger floor-to-ceiling height in the centre and the main spaces of the dwelling. But we have worked very hard to share the view. 47 Blake Street, it does enjoy a very beautiful view of the city. From the front of our proposed dwellings to the front of the site, there is no view loss for 47 Blake Street. From their exterior forward terrace, they will experience no loss whatsoever of the city through to the harbour bridge. So we are genuinely putting our submission forward as having genuinely considered their view and the view sharing. Views from the first floor level of their dwelling are completely unaffected as well. So in the spirit of that view sharing, it would be unfortunate to have to reduce the floor-to-ceiling heights within our dwellings. Yeah,
But it's possible. You could do it.
Of course,
It is possible.
Of course, anything is possible. Just whether that's in the spirit of the, I just feel that's more heavily weighted in favour of 47, given that the setbacks that we have provided give them more than ample opportunity to have completely unbroken views of the city. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just revert back to my point that if I won't labour on this point, but regarding if you do have a look at the view impact assessment, you can see that even if we're with a reduction of the floor to ceiling height, we can still give minimal improvements to the views from these areas. But yes, we do not disagree that the floor to ceiling heights could be lowered.
Yeah, and the design we've tried to have quite a sort of modern flat roof, peeled back. Like, we haven't proposed a giant gable pitched roof that would impact the view more. You know, we've tried to consider holistically the site, and I'm sure, yes, the applicants can choose various spots from the site to take photos and make the development look like a massive impact, but just as easily they can step 5 meters to the front of the site and have completely unbroken view of the harbour and the city. And that is more in the spirit of sharing of views, as opposed to just simply imposing a condition to reduce the floor to ceiling heights inside.
Well, thank you. Panel, do we have any questions? Do we need to hear further? Sam, I think we've got committee member Sam's got a question for you.
So just if you did reduce the heights to 2.7 and 2.4, you'd have a total of those two of 5.1 versus 3 and 3, which would be 6. So it'd drop it 900 millimetres, which I would have thought's a significant view improvement for the property up the hill, which is what, 47.
We all, and please also bear in mind, we are well under the wall height and the 8.5 metre LEP height. And as Klaus did mention, there are other design alternatives, such as having a pitched roof, which would create a significant more impact on the development next door. And there's also potential to even include a partial attic story as well, which would still be compliant with the height limit. So it's just...
Yeah, I mean, I just think it would be unfortunate in terms of the design and the experience. I know that council has to take the view of the community, but I hope that everyone can appreciate that I'm trying to take a view on both sides of the fence as well, and I'm trying to promote quality, like a high level of design, both from the exterior and from the interior. Of course, like, we could have all of our houses set to 2.4 floor to ceiling heights, but do we consider that a quality outcome?
Thank you.
So you say unfortunate, that's unfortunate for your client, not the property at 47. They'd see it different. They wouldn't say it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
If I could raise one more thing and that is you've chosen to raise the height of the finished floor level, of the ground floor level. You've got it on fill. So you've chosen to raise the building as well.
Sorry, that's at 45. So at 45A, we have, which is the site that is located directly adjacent to 47. We're maintaining that general floor level, finished floor level, as it is existing today, whereas 45 is sort of down the hill a little bit. So that requires a little bit of fill to bring that floor level up. And the whole of 45 dwelling, the whole structure itself, is set a little bit lower than 45A. And that is just simply due to the topography of the site as it falls away down the hill.
I'd just like to bring in at this point in time, I think we're also addressing DA 657/2024, which is 45A Blake Street, Rose Bay. We seem to be talking about them together, so I'd just like to put that on the record that we're looking at both DAs in this discussion.
I'd just like to add to in respect to the fill, there is a condition of consent implemented by council officers to reduce the extent of fill.
Yeah, down the side passage. Yeah.
So, and we do not disagree with that condition either.
We've sort of taken over your time. Is there anything you'd like to put to us that hasn't been asked in a question?
No, I think we covered off everything in terms of the key items. However, if you have any further questions, we're happy to answer.
Anything further? No, Sam, did you have? No. Thank you very much, and thank you for your responses. Appreciate that. Thank you. We'll now go on to item number 4, which is 447. Old South Head Road, Rose Bay. We've got no submissions were received during notification period. There's no registered speakers on any objectors to the council decision. And we have the applicant representatives, George Caravanis and Rob Myerson and Will McKee. Would you like to address?
Yes, we would, Madam Chair. The architects will be available to answer any questions. My name is George Caravanis, Managing Director of GSA Planning. And I'd just like to say a few words about the development. Firstly, we'd like to say that we do concur with the thorough assessment report provided by the council officer and, of course, the recommendation for approval. We don't wish to challenge any of the conditions. You will note that there are no objectors today. In fact, there are no objections submitted with this DA, which is very positive. The DA has been supported and well received by the council's design excellence panel, and the panel indeed commented that the urban design, the design of the proposal is well considered and a thoughtful response to the site and the context. And their comments are summarised in pages 313 to 317 of the agenda. Members of the panel, as you would be aware, this DA is accompanied by 3 clause 4.6 variations relating to the non-discretionary standards of the low to mid-rise housing, which is known as LMR policy under the new SEP. And this is for lot width, height and FSR. Now, these clause 4.6 variations are entirely technical in nature. As indicated in the council office report, the Waverley LEP allows for less restrictive standards than the LMR. In other words, the proposal does comply with the council's LEP standards. These are a result of the LMR controls coming in without savings provisions. And as you know, the intention of the LMR is for an uplift rather than a downlift, right? So the clause 4.6s are not because we're proposing something that's out of the ordinary or an overdevelopment. It's mainly a technical glitch in the LMR. We've spoken to the Department of Planning, and the department has acknowledged this anomaly that does occur with some sites where they get downgraded. And as we understand, that's going to be fixed. Notwithstanding this, the proposed development does uphold the objectives of the zone and the principles of the SEP. The proposal indeed increases the site's contribution to housing in the locality, providing 4 new dwellings, each with parking, private open space, and very good amenity. The proposed building is predominantly compliant with the council's built form controls under the DCP, and where there might be some slight protrusions, they do not give rise to any material impacts. And these, of course, have been dealt with by the council officer's report. The development will provide, in our opinion, an elegant contemporary development with new landscaping that will significantly improve the site's appearance, contribute positively to the streetscape character, of course, improve housing stock, and maintain an appropriate relationship with its neighbours. Members of the panel, for these reasons, we feel that the proposal is appropriate for the site and worthy of approval. And we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to ask? Yeah. Any questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now move on. There's no other speakers. I don't think we need to hear from the architects, do we, on this item? No. Thank you, though, for making yourself available. Appreciate it. Item number 5, we'll move on to, which is DA 30 2025, 86 Chileia Street, Rose Bay. There's no submissions received through the notification period. We've got a registered speaker who's the applicant, Brian Vanderplaat. Brian, are you here? You might want to, remove yourself from mute. Thank you, Brian. When you're ready, if there's anything you'd like to address or...
Hey, sorry. Sorry.
That's all right. That's fine.
Sorry.
It's a dog-friendly office. You're fine.
Okay. I'm the applicant. Basically, all I'm here for is to see if the panel has any questions for me. Basically, the council has recommended approval for this subdivision. It's basically currently a what do you call it? A strata title. and basically the site is basically 2 semis, and we're requesting it to go back to a Torrens title subdivision. Sometime in the 90s or the 80s, it was changed over. So that's all we're requesting for this application, and I'm just here to answer any questions if the committee or the panel wants me to answer any questions, basically.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate
Yep.
your attendance.
Yep.
We do have a question from Claire.
Yep.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry.
All good. Just more out of curiosity than anything. So it was originally Torrens title and then it went to a strata subdivision, is that correct?
From my understanding, the previous owner purchased this site many years ago and wanted to develop the site into apartments and set it up as a strated piece.
Okay.
That's my understanding, yes.
Thank you. It was just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kate. Anything? Nope, that's it. Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now move on to item number 6, which is DA 556 2024 5250 South Head Road, Rose Bay. A number of submissions were received during the notification period. No objectors are registered to speak, and we've got the applicant George Caravanas here again, and Harry Henshaw Hill, the architect. So George, did you want to address on this item, or Harry?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll say a few words if that's okay.
Yeah, certainly.
And Harry will be available to answer any questions as per the previous one. Again, I'd like to say that we do concur with a very thorough assessment contained in the Council Officer's report and the recommendation, and we don't wish to challenge any of the recommended conditions of consent. You will see that the proposal does include infill affordable housing, as was the case with the first item, and this is permissible in the E1 zone and well within both the height and FSR standards of the housing SEP. Importantly, the proposal generally complies with the Council's DCP controls and of course with the ADG. And in particular, the proposal has been reduced and refined during discussions with Council in response to neighbour submissions. While there is a slight variation with the landscaped area subject requirement, this has been assessed in detail by Council on pages 436 to 438 and is considered appropriate given the site's location in the E1 zone. And also, of course, being a corner site, it requires active frontages that respond to the local centre character, as well, of course, as the requirement to provide driveway compliant with Australian standard and compliant car parking. The proposal on balance comprises an appropriate contextual fit for the corner and a skillful design. As indicated, the proposal has been reduced in response to the Council's controls or the Council's submissions. And generally, in respect of these submissions and the objections, a few comments I would like to make. In terms of the shadow cast, this has been seen as acceptable as agreed by the Council Officer's report. Privacy is maintained by orientation. We've got a corner site, location of windows, and appropriately screening methods. And finally, as assessed by Council, the proposal has no known view impacts and no submissions were received raising views. So with all those matters, members of the panel, as was the case with the first matter that you heard, we find that this is an excellent opportunity for affordable housing, appropriate for the site, and of course it's worthy of approval. Thank you, and we're happy to answer any questions.
I've got one. Just, do you know the name of the provider who's taking on the community housing?
I don't. It was given to me, and after I heard the first presenter, I've been scrambling to find it. I don't have it, unfortunately.
Okay, but there's arrangements in place, or there's
yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on this development? No, thank you very much. Thank you, Harry. Do we want to hear from the architect? No, thank you for making yourself available, though. Appreciate that. Nothing further from the panel on item number 6, so we'll move on to item number 7, and which is DA 633 2024 4 Cross Street, Bronte. Submissions were received during the notification period We've got one registered speaker against the council recommendation, who's Simon Guthrie, and we've got an applicant representative. So Simon, are you here? So when you're ready, if you could unmute and start your 3 minutes in your own time. Yeah. Can you see a button down the bottom left or something on the screen, like a little mic or something? You just press. Can we unmute him, Nina? Oh, yep. Oh, what happened? Yep, you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the panel for the chance to speak on this one. The reason for our concerns, both my upstairs neighbour and myself, is that this balcony in its present form has always overlooked the private side of our house, and I think that the figure 10 on page 546 of the council report shows clearly that on the top floor, my neighbour's place, you can see quite across the balcony, and the far room of that is a bedroom. There is a similar view from the floor below, which looks into my apartment. The original building or the original balcony has a truncated corner which was imposed on the previous development due to our concerns that we raised at the time that the northern edge of the balcony would be clear view 3 by 2 meters to look into our apartments. We note that the current redevelopment gets away from that imposition, and in fact the northern edge of the balcony rebuild goes right to the corner post, so therefore increasing the overview of the privacy. This is quite a considerable loss of amenity to us. We have asked that the privacy screens of some type be included in it, but to no avail. There is a privacy screen, but it only goes a partial way along that northern wall. When we redeveloped our balcony, we were imposed a full-length privacy screen on the southern face of our balconies, which we did install in compliance with the DA that was given to us. So we see that it would only be fair that similar imposition be put on this redevelopment. And I don't have any more to say, really. I think that covers basically what our concerns have been.
Thank you. Questions? We do have a question from our community rep, Sam.
So I'm looking at a photograph taken from the subject property towards yours.
Yes.
And on the top level, on the boundary facing side, I can see half a privacy screen. The level below is a full privacy screen. I thought you said that you were imposed a condition you had to have full privacy.
Oh, I don't know what my neighbours have done, but my development, my side has a full privacy screen.
That's yours. And then the one above, yeah, it's half one. Okay, just wanted to check that.
That's there, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, thank you. We've got the applicant, Charlotte Satari. Sorry about that, Charlotte. Would you like to address that, firstly, that issue raised by Simon?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. We went through quite an extensive process with council, be it a couple of RFIs to try and reduce these privacy concerns. In the first instance, we actually brought back the balconies a fair bit from what they were originally proposed, which helped. In the slightest, we have provided a full-length privacy screen along the southern facade to that top unit, which we agreed with council was where the key privacy concern lied. And then for the remainder of the units, we provided effectively a half privacy screen. We feel that is ample in adequately screening any potential overlooking, and when compared to the existing arrangement, which doesn't include any privacy screens within our property, we feel it is a significant improvement.
Can I ask a question, please? Why
sorry.
was that done on the northern balcony and not on the top floor balcony and not on the proponent's balcony, which is the unit 2 of 4 Cross Street?
Thank you, Simon. Thank you. But if I could just get you to just mute yourself now, and I'll get Charlotte to address that. But if we could just not have you jump in like that, that would be helpful. Thank you. Charlotte, if you could address Simon's question.
Absolutely. So the reasoning for providing the full-length privacy screen to the upper apartment was effectively to address the clause 4.6 statement, in which effectively the portion of the balcony that exceeded the height limit, we needed to show that there was absolutely no privacy concern. And there is a southern window at number 6 Cross Street that we were concerned of in terms of privacy. So in that instance, we provided a full-length screen. The issue with providing full-length privacy screens across both facades, across all of the units, is it diminishes the amount of amenity on our site in terms of solar access and the availability of sunlight. And that was expressed by the landowners, and that was communicated to council, and we effectively were able to come to an agreement that half privacy screens were suitable, and where that immediate privacy concern was to number 6 Cross Street, that was effectively mitigated through a full-length privacy screen.
Any questions on that? Okay. Is there anything else, Charlotte, you'd like to address the panel on? We hijacked you first with your questions, but is there anything else you'd like to address on?
Look, I'll just summarise really quickly. We're obviously very grateful to council for their assistance through the assessment process. We agree with the recommendation, and we are content with the draft conditions. Obviously, we're very grateful to the panel for considering this submission, and if there are any questions from the panel, I'm obviously happy to answer.
Great. I think there's nothing further from the panel. So thank you, Charlotte, and thank you, Simon, for coming and addressing the panel. We'll now move on. That's all we have on that item. So we'll now move on to item number 8, DA 667 of 2024 and 44 Burke Street, Queen's Park. There was a submission received. There's no speakers registered for either party. And so I'll move on and close the meeting as there's no further items on today's agenda. Thank you, panel. Thank you, staff.